Gentleman from Kentucky.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I said in my opening statement, I urge support for H.R. 4851 to continue unemployment and health insurance benefits for long-term unemployed workers, along with extensions of other important expiring provisions, like the Medicare reimbursement provisions that my colleague from Texas just mentioned. But as we as a Congress redouble our efforts on the task of empowering Americans to create jobs, we need to remember the core causes of this. Even as we help in those places where jobs are the hardest to find, promoting job growth ultimately needs to be the broader goal. One thing that we could do as a Congress to promote job growth and help our economy stand up and restore confidence in investing would be to stop the ramming of this health care bill through the House of Representatives, presumably without even taking a vote on it. I think there's a small detail in the Constitution that would suggest my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have a small problem explaining that to their constituents. But let's look at the base principles in this bill. There are good elements in it, small individual elements. But the framework, the foundation on which it's built is not only flawed, it will be destructive to the American economy and make us into the equivalent of an Eastern European economy and healthcare system within 10 years. First of all, it's based on huge tax increases. Now, we still don't know what the reconciliation numbers are, but we know by commentary off the floor that the score from the Congressional Budget Office was far more than anything that's been presented in public thus far. Taxing health insurance is going to do one thing. It's going to reduce access to health insurance because less benefits will be provided by employers. It's very simple. Those of us who have run businesses understand this when we go without payroll to make sure our employees were covered. But we need to keep in mind the reality of what's happening. Taking money out of our pockets to fuel the growth of federal bureaucracy is not right. The second thing that's done on the opposite end of the pipeline is a $500 billion cut in Medicare benefits. In my going on 6 years in Congress, I have never seen $1 taken out of waste of the Center of Medicare Services. We hire more people, we put more rules in place, but we don't take the overhead out to simplify the processes. Indeed, in the Ways and Means Committee, a simple amendment offered by the gentleman from Illinois to study point-of-sale and credit card architecture technology that's used in every convenience store in America was rejected as one gentleman from Texas called it a pumpkin designed to enrich insurance executives. We use that every day. We use that in our identification cards here to even vote. We don't have that integrated in our government. That's why citizens complain all the time about dealing with Washington, D.C. The final thing that's done on top of all of this is the only job creation program that's coming out of the legislation being considered this week is the hiring of over 100,000 new federal workers who have to be paid for by taxpayers. That means that many jobs have to be created for every one of those. When I stop and think about this, I'm amazed because we're not fixing the waste, the excess, the broken processes, the unintegrated database, and contradictory regulations between the agencies. All we're doing is making the problem bigger, and in the end, it will result, as your own bill says with its waiting list language, in ration care. Finally, let's talk about the overwhelming majority of the American people. It is astounding to me the awareness level at all levels of our society of this bill and, frankly, the fear that is out there. Not fear from things I say back home, but when people read the bill and see what it means. I'm not talking about cable television fearmongers. I'm talking simply about good Americans who are doing their civics homework, like some of my colleagues in both bodies have failed to do, and don't remember the basis of why we were sent here. And then when we can't get that popular vote because of fear of members of retribution in the fall, which I guarantee you is going to come, and all of us will be held account for our vote, to deem a bill that takes over nearly 1/5 of the economy. Let's think what deeming means for my fellow Americans watching. I could deem each of my children a PhD. I could deem them a good house. I could deem them a great future. In fact, while we're here deeming things, let's deem world peace. Then we would do away with lots of expenditures. You all know the absurdity of that statement on the false premise that is raised with deeming. Why are we doing it? Because it creates a subterfuge that is wrong and violates Article 1 of the Constitution. At the end of the day, there will be a count to the American people. We agree on good things that can get done. Let's do those good things. Let's fix the government waste, fix the private market, and provide real medical liability reform. And with that, I yield back.